the Senate may handle the impeachment trial. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham joins us right now in an exclusive. Good to see you, Senator. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Your reaction to what Nancy Pelosi is doing. Have you heard from Nancy Pelosi? Are you getting the articles of impeachment in the Senate?
Well, my reaction is that she's taking a wrecking ball to the Constitution. This is the latest in a series of constitutional train wrecks orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi. During the impeachment process, the president was not allowed to have counsel present during the Intel Committee. He could not call witnesses on his behalf. He could not confront his accuser. And now that he's been charged with 2 articles of impeachment, Nancy Pelosi is denying the president his day in the court in the Senate, and she's actually trying to tell Mitch McConnell how to run the Senate. She's trampling on the separation of powers. It's the Senate's job to dispose of impeachment articles once passed by the House. It's not Nancy Pelosi's job. When it comes to Trump, the rules don't matter to Democrats, and that's dangerous and sad.
I mean, how is this going to play out? We spoke yesterday. You said this was like extortion. Explain that.
It is. Well, what she's trying to do is to get Mitch McConnell to bend to her will to shape the trial. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? You had a Democratic president impeached by a Republican House, and the Republican Speaker was telling a Democratic majority leader how to run the trial. You know, the media is so in the tank when it comes to Trump. Democrats hate him so much they don't love anything constitutional anymore. All the rules have been thrown in a ditch to get Trump, from the way they impeached him to now denying his day in court. Here's how it's going to end. She'll eventually send the articles because public opinion will crush the Democrats. You got the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, conspiring with the Speaker of the House, basically, to insist upon calling witnesses that deny. The president is invoking executive privilege around Mulvaney and John Bolton and others. They impeached this president because he chose to go to the court. Second article of impeachment is obstruction of Congress. The president has claimed executive privilege, and instead of allowing the president to exercise his legal rights, they've impeached him because he wanted to go to court. Can you imagine what would have happened if we'd done this to a Democrat, that we impeach a Democrat because they wanted to go to court?
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. So do you expect that there will be witnesses in a Senate trial? Can you walk us through how the Senate trial
No, I don't.
Yep.
Okay. To any senator who votes to compel the testimony of John Bolton or Mick Mulvaney before the president can have his day in court, exercising executive privilege before the courts available to every American, including Donald Trump. So if you call these witnesses who work for the president after he's invoked executive privilege, if you deny him his day in court, then you're abusing the constitutional rights of Donald Trump as president, and you're putting the entire presidency at risk. I can't imagine any senator doing this to the presidency.
Yeah.
What did they impeach him for, Maria? They impeached him because he wanted to go to court. Instead of allowing the president to go to court to exercise executive privilege, they put an artificial time limit and said, if you don't allow these witnesses to come to the House at a time certain, we're going to impeach you. They impeached him for exercising his legal rights. I hope senators will not do the same thing. Hope the senators will not vote to compel witnesses before the court determines whether or not there's executive privilege.
All right. I want to move on to FISA, but real quick, how long would you expect the Senate trial to go? When you go back to Clinton, what was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is going to be exactly like the Clinton trial. The House managers will argue the case to the Senate based on the record established at the House. And one of the reasons she's not sending these impeachment articles over is because her case is so weak and shaky. But what happened in Clinton, they argued the facts accumulated by the House. Witnesses were requested. They were denied along party lines.
Yeah.
There were no witnesses. Then we voted. That's what's going to happen here.
And you were a House manager back then.
Yeah, so I made the case based on what we did in the House. Then we requested witnesses. The Senate refused to allow witnesses. Then they voted on the articles of impeachment. Schumer says he wants a process like Clinton. That's exactly what he wants to get. But when it comes to Senator Schumer and his colleagues, they could care less if they're trampling on the rights of Donald Trump. This president is wanting to invoke executive privilege The question, will the Senate deny President Trump the ability to invoke executive privilege, or will they run over his right to invoke executive privilege and force the witnesses to come anyway?
Yeah.
The House just impeached him because he wanted to go to court. This is the first time a president's ever impeached because he insisted on going to court. This is dangerous.
Senator, do you know who the House managers are this time around?
No, I'm sure it will be the, Schiff Nadler show.
Okay.
I supported Mueller's investigation because I took it seriously.
Yeah.
This stuff from the beginning has been partisan.
I'm glad you mentioned Mueller, because I have an op-ed here from the Journal this weekend, and it's called Robert Mueller's Dossier Dodge. And, it's asking the question, the same question that I asked throughout the Mueller trial, the Mueller hearing, and it was basically, how is it even possible that Robert Mueller can sit there and testify to what took place in 2016 in terms of Russian meddling without looking at the dossier? But over and over again, he said that the dossier was not in his purview, that it wasn't his mandate. Now we know from the IG report that, in fact, the dossier was a, quote, essential part of the wiretap warrant that they got, the warrant to wiretap an innocent American citizen, and that is Carter Page. What is your reaction to that Mueller refused to talk about the dossier, even though now we know it was essential for them getting that wiretap? He was the former FBI director. He spent $40+ million on this Mueller probe. Shouldn't he have known that?
Yeah, I don't see how you can investigate the 2016 Trump-Russian allegations without looking at the dossier. I don't know how you can move forward once the dossier collapsed regarding Carter Page. So the Horowitz report is the first step in a long journey regarding FISA abuse. The FISA court rebuked the FBI. That is a great start. They came down hard on the FBI. If they had failed to do that, I would have lost all confidence in the court. Comey said last week he was sorry. It was sloppy. No, Comey, it wasn't sloppy. It was criminal. I'm going to call every person who signed the warrant application. I'm going to find out why Brennan went to Harry Reid in September of 2016 to talk about the investigation. I'm going to find out why it took 2 years for Mueller to realize there was no there. We're going to look long and hard at FISA abuse. We're going to pass laws to make sure this never happens again. Accountability will only be successful if somebody gets fired, and I'm looking at Christopher Wray to fire somebody at the FBI, and somebody needs to go to jail, and I'm looking at Durham to hold people criminally accountable for the laws they broke.
Well, you make a good point, and we've got a graphic here that shows everybody who signed those warrants, and you're saying each of these people you're going to call down to testify. That includes, obviously, James Comey signed the warrant 3 times. Sally Yates signed it once. Yeah. You had Andrew McCabe, his deputy, signing it. Do we have that graphic? Sally Yates as well. All of those people you say you are going to call to testify as you continue to do this deep dive into what took place in 2016.
Yeah, there's 2 questions I want to ask these people. When you signed the warrant application, how much time did you spend trying to figure out if it was actually true? And how far up the chain did this go? Did President Obama know about the counterintelligence surveillance of the Trump campaign? Did Vice President Biden know? How much information was provided to Susan Rice? I want to know how far up the chain the investigation went. I want to know why so many people could sign a warrant application so flawed. So there's a lot of questions. I want to make sure this never happens again. To the American people, you deserve better than this. Every American should be worried about FISA. And to this impeachment debacle, to my Democratic colleagues, impeachment is a dead cat. Stop playing with it.
Say it again, Senator.
Impeachment is a dead cat. Stop playing with it. Bury it. It's going nowhere. Quit violating the Constitution. Give the president his day in court. And let's get this behind us so we can talk about things that people really care about in this country.
Senator, I want to take a short break, but what you just said was really important. How high up the chain does it go? A lot of people keep telling me that the mastermind was at the CIA of putting Trump into this whole Russia meddling hoax over the last 3 years. I want to talk about John Brennan when we come right back. Stay with the Senator Lindsey Graham. We'll be right back.